chart, like a country incorporation chart. And it's quite interesting that the minute I did this, I noticed there was what we call a midheaven. It's really important in business. It's also known as the MC, I guess what we call an angle of business, and looking at kind of these affairs with other countries and so on. And we also have an ascendant, which is this arrow on the left next to the node here. Just so you know that midheaven is next to Pluto on the left, the arrow, and then the ascendant is at 26 degrees here. So we've got, I guess, 27, 26 here, and then we've got Jupiter and Mercury at 25 degrees and Mars at 25 degrees. So we've certainly got a lot of these planets around the same degree. And when I looked at this chart straight away, I noticed that there was an eclipse coming in May at 25 degrees. So we absolutely just look at a chart straight away, and we kind of want to have a look at what else is at 25 degrees. Now, the aspect we can kind of look at, but sometimes it's about just picking up the planets and not the aspect. So what we've got, Mars 25, Mercury 25, Jupiter 25, and the ascendant to the left here at 25. So this is a lot of stuff being picked up off this chart. Now this is in May, and just if you're sort of quite new to using eclipses or don't know much about it, you would think, oh, okay, and I have seen it online. People are like, oh, well, this astrology is going to come in May. Well, that's not necessarily how it works when we use eclipses, because often what will happen is the transit of Mars coming along will actually set off the eclipse. So I took a bit of a look to see when Mars, here it is, currently at 25 degrees, you can even make this up, and I just quickly whizzed back, and there's something I found really interesting here. So here is Mars coming in at our 25 degrees. So this is it here, and I'm actually going to move it into business hours a little bit because something really interesting came up here. So I'm going to pop it into like 9 o'clock or something in the morning, East Coast US time. So again, we're bringing, and when we have an eclipse on an angle, which is on saying this MC or ascendant, it's actually far more important than the planets. It really, really comes up in this sort of priority scale. And often it's to do with change. And I did make a video about 2022, and I was a little concerned with this eclipse already into last year. And that is because what this eclipse is that Saturn squares the eclipse. So any eclipse that has sort of activated a lot of stuff really we saw in December. That's markets, that's individual equities. I believe it was Bitcoin. Like, I have seen so much already tank. So I am pretty sure that, and I did send out a PDF of my video saying watch out for the eclipse activating in December. It's really important to understand how eclipses work, because there's no point looking at this. This is 6 months ahead, so we've actually we could have even seen the worst of this. I believe that this has actually set off. Now, that's good because, eclipses can go anywhere from sort of 6 weeks to 3 months. So where we're at now, January, February coming into March, well, that's our 3 months. It's really hard to say exactly, but I certainly, maybe in this case, you can't really say, but I would be pretty surprised if this is still good. I'm not a fan of the astrology in May, and I did sort of put out a bit of a caution, but it's really hard to know if this is still going on then, or if we're seeing the bulk going on now. Now, when we look at this eclipse, if we want to look at the sun and the moon up here, so this eclipse has technically squared the moon, squared the sun, squared Mercury, squared Venus, and squared Jupiter, and it's semi-squared Uranus. That's pretty bad. Look, it's 7 degrees wide from Pluto, and I guess we could probably bring that in as well. There's a couple of other things coming up. There's going to be an eclipse opposite here at 16 degrees Taurus next year. It's not till 2023, but I think we'll bring in that at 7 degrees. Now, when it comes to Pluto, you can lose a bit of your power. Sometimes you can gain power. So that's actually just want to point that out. It's one or the other. So it's very possible Ukraine could gain some power here. But we are absolutely picking up all these, angles as such as to the left. And often when we have an eclipse to do with our ascendant, it is sextile the ascendant. Often there's a lot to do with change, and also change here changes the country. I mean, that's a bit of a no-brainer that that's going on. But there's absolutely loads and loads of stuff being picked up here. So I think that was really, really interesting that, we have all these planets at this degree of the eclipse, and then Mars technically setting this eclipse off in May. And then because I said, I was mentioning that on the 7th of December 2021, that, they did all these peace talks and stuff. And then I sort of thought I'd Google, okay, what was going on with Ukraine in 2021. So I'm going to show you what I came up with. This is super interesting. On December 7, 2021, Biden and Putin did a virtual video link. Also on, there's just articles everywhere. And also on 7th of December 2021, the House of Commons in the UK even discussed the Ukraine. So we absolutely know, and I would almost pretty much say without doubt, going back to, this date of December 7, 2021, when we had Mars at the, degree of the eclipse at 25 Scorpio, we've really seen this eclipse set off. Now, why this is, we use time and financial astrology and stuff like that, is because we would hopefully think that the effects of this hopefully have passed. As I said again, we can't guarantee in May there's not going to be something to do with this, but we have to kind of really look at this and think, okay, the effects of this have kind of happened. We've had this eclipse square Saturn. We've really, really come into all that kind of stuff here. If I look at the astrology now, where we're at, what have we got again? 25 degrees. Our Pluto is at 25 degrees, which is massive in itself. Look, that was here. Oh, sorry, I've just gone by years. I've got to go by days here. At 25. And look, someone actually emailed me. I hadn't looked at this chart. I haven't even had time. But they pointed out to me, it's really interesting that we do have Pluto going over the ascendant. Look, we even had sort of Pluto-Sun conjunction here. And when Pluto goes what we call stationing back and forth over, we really, really see a really big story here. I mean, it certainly didn't come out here. Here's that 25 degrees set up again and stuff like that. I mean, this is just wild that this Mars-Venus conjunction is at 25 degrees. I mean, I'm quickly having a look and I can't see anything else. So, and look at the nodes here, of course, at 25 degrees Scorpio, the degree of the eclipse now at 28th February 2022. So again, also this is pretty, this is really going back to this eclipse series going back about 19 years ago related to what was going on there. It's really worth a bit of a look. I think probably Jessica Adams would have done that anyway. And if you can see here even, if I go here, and even his Jupiter and Mercury falling in, looks like a bit of a T-square even. Now, what's also interesting on this Ukraine chart is that you've got these planets here making what we call a T-square. So when an eclipse, it's going into the ascendant, I should say. So when an eclipse is hitting that T-square, it's setting off the tension in this chart. It's really important that, when we get these eclipses on there, we set up we set off, and you can see them, going between these sort of planets here and probably even the Venus. There's quite a few. There's probably about 4 in here. So it's a really, really strong part of the chart. And this is why, just from an astrological level, I certainly don't specialize by any means in in political country astrology, but you can absolutely see it here. The way it's set off next to Pluto on the left, there's that sort of 27, 22, 25, 25. So this is why I think we've seen this chart just explode pretty much. I do know there's a Jupiter-Sun conjunction. Look, I'd love to think that, the peace talks would go well, but it takes a little bit more than a couple of basic transits and stuff like that. That is coming in at 14 degrees here. Look, the Neptune's here at 14 degrees. I was having a bit of a look to see what this Jupiter-Sun conjunction, it's not picking up too much on the charts, but you know, here it is over that Neptune there. So probably need to have a bit of a look and see what's going on. The thing is too, coming up in May, look, the astrology is not fantastic with all the Saturn oppositions and stuff like that. But, you know, and this Uranus-Saturn's pretty explosive as well. And it's possible that that's actually been coming in before. Here we go. So it's, you know, sort of started May 2021, but it's only coming in exact here in, you know, sort of June. And I have sort of slated a little bit of, in June. And so probably actually April, May, but it's not just, I think June's not going to be great too. It's Mercury retrograde. So, you know, this Saturn opposite Jupiter, Saturn opposite the Sun, when's that been? That should be coming up pretty, it's probably not going to come for a little while. And it's interesting that Saturn-Sun opposition's coming in around when that eclipse, you know, opposing Pluto is coming in. So it's very possible. That's our 10-degree Taurus. And we've also got Uranus at 10 degrees here. So it's very possible. Now that looks a bit friendlier here, which is quite interesting. It is opposed Pluto though, but it's certainly picking up that Uranus. So a bit mixed there, and we've still got this sort of Pluto-Saturn conjunction going over this. It's some massive astrology here. So, you know, really the point of this video is I think sort of the initial impact of this eclipse is probably set off now. It's not to say that just an eclipse is just, you know, why everything happens, but I guess what's quite important is that we can time events using eclipses. Now there's going to be another one next year. It's going to come in, there's going to be two. So one's going to come in May, sorry, let's have a look here. The one at the end of the year is at 16 Taurus. So that's going to be the one that's going to be exactly opposite Pluto. Now that is conjunct Uranus, so it could certainly be something out of the blue. You can see here, there's your opposition, you know, it's probably a bit wide here, but that's your Neptune there. And I just wanted to bring up the one that I said was going to be opposed, which was going to be, let's have a look here. I think I felt like there was another, maybe not, maybe I'm sort of going a bit mad with it. So, you know, this chart is literally getting every single eclipse. So it's getting your eclipse on Pluto, the one that's coming a little bit later, that's going to be at 16 Taurus. Then it's going to get the one that's opposing, you know, that is the opposing. Then you're going to get the one at Scorpio, which is going to be 14 Scorpio. That is May 2023. I think that's when I was wanting to show you that. My brain sidetracked a bit. So that's that one there. You know, that's picking up the Neptune. You know, there's just a lot going on in this chart, but I really feel like the one we're seeing now is the most important. And ultimately, you know, because we kind of, you know, you can look ahead and kind of wondering what's going on, kind of bigger picture and stuff like that. You would probably be looking into the Leo Virgo series, you know, having a look at the sun here, and that's when some really big change could possibly come. So you want to kind of go early Virgo, late Libra. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look if I can find one at 29 Libra. No, I don't think we've got one. So I think that's okay for now. So, you know, there's certainly some monster eclipses coming here. There is one at 2 Scorpio in October. I don't really think that one's going to pick up too much. Let's have a quick look at it just to make sure. So, you know, 2 degrees. This one looks a lot friendlier. You know, solar eclipses are certainly a lot friendlier than lunar eclipses. So, you know, looking at the solars, you know, you can't really say. It really depends how it hits the chart and stuff like that. But what we have is this Saturn at 1 degree and the Sun at 0. So, you know, we'd probably be looking into this Saturn and seeing what's going on with that degree. It is square Saturn, but it's sextiling the Sun. Now, that's when we've got some better transits here as well. We've got Jupiter sextile Saturn. So there's that Saturn there with a Jupiter sextile here when Jupiter goes into Aries. So that's quite interesting here. And then you go Jupiter at 0 degrees Sun. So this is really important because whenever you've got something at 0 degrees in a chart and Jupiter changes signs, this 0, degrees. So that looks quite, so I would actually maybe think towards the end of the year. Again, I can't say I don't specialize in stuff, but this is looking a lot better here. We do need to see again, Mars is not always around at the degree to say that's what's going to do it, because sometimes it can be a transit that sets it off, sometimes it comes in the week of, sometimes it can come in a month early, a month later. It takes quite a bit of, you just got to work with these quite a lot to understand how they work. And when we just see Mars coming to that degree before the eclipse and we see a lot of crazy stuff, we can pretty much put, a bit of a degree of certainty that we've seen the effects of it. So, that's some of the look at the Ukraine chart. We probably need to progress the chart as well, just to see what's kind of going on it and see some of the planets at degrees. There's that Saturn at 0 degrees again. This is only the progress. So we probably want to look at the sun here. So we've got the sun here at 0 Libra progressed. So what I want to have a look at is see when our Libra, now this is quite interesting. There's a Libra eclipse in 2024. So when I move the sun around, what we get, 2023, I think it is. Let me just have a look here. No, March 2024, that's right. So we've always got to move the chart just to make sure that it matches. So what's going to happen here, I think there's going to be a lot of change coming for Ukraine in 2024. There's your eclipse there. And when we have eclipses on the sun, that's kind of as important as it gets in financial astrology. It's a really, really big deal. We want to look at the chart here, and we might actually want to go back and see if there's anything at 5. Let's see how that eclipse. We don't need to even really look at the transits, because this is the master transit, as I would call it. Look, there's the sort of nodes there coming on some planets, but this is just what we call a progress. This is interesting. I might actually run the Ukraine chart on the progress chart as well and see what's going on there too here, and just see if anything's kind of lining up. Now on a progress chart, the outer planets don't move much. We kind of really look at some of the slightly quicker ones, see what they're doing. And what I might even do here is do what we call a solar arc chart. Let's have a look here and just see, we're looking for any planets that are on the ascendant and stuff like that, and seeing what's going on here. So we've got the moon conjunct the ascendant and Jupiter conjunct the descendant. Look at that solar arc. Wow. So this is, because I'm not an expert by any means with political astrology, but you might even look at this and think help from allies. And here's that 25 degrees back again. This is really amazing, actually. So we have the descendant, the point of other people. Now the other thing is Jupiter expands what it touches, and we certainly are expanding this theme of other people. It's a bit of a relationship gone sour, I guess, in a way, but this is really interesting. And there's that we pretty much want to just use the angles, and then you've got the moon, the solar arc moon conjunct the the ascendant here, but that's massive. So there is a lot of astrology here. And just going back as well, I just want to see if I can pick up if there's anything else I need to look at here. That's right, I wanted to move that 5 degrees here. So I'll flip this back over and get into where we're at and just see if there's anything going on at 5 degrees. Not so much. So, there's a lot of astrology here. And it's really, really quite interesting, and I'm going to end this.